What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and let me introduce you to one of the big struggles of being a YouTuber. It actually just happened to me. I went to go change the frame rate on my camera and I formatted my memory card. I turned the camera off, I turned it back on. Come to find out, memory card successfully formatted. That means all of the footage that I filmed up until this point in time, which would almost kind of be at the end of the video that I was filming today, is now completely gone, and it's unrecoverable. So unfortunately, this video is not going to go as initially planned, but that doesn't matter. We're not gonna let that negativity impede on the very exciting video that we're making today. So you might have noticed over the past 2 months that there's a car that's kind of been creeping very nonchalantly in the background in very, very seldom parts of my vlogs. It might pop up from time to time, and it might not be a truck. Well, lots of you have been really wondering what in the hell is going on, and you've been asking and quite literally overtaking my comment section with curiosity, which, well, personally, I don't blame you, because I would be wondering the same thing. And well, we're just gonna cut right to the chase on this one, guys, because I personally can't wait any longer, because, well, without further ado, we are back. Just like I used my thumb to tap that remote start button, you should use your thumb to smash that thumbs up button on this video. All right, but in all seriousness, let's quiet this thing up for a minute, because we got some splaining to do. All right, guys, so without further ado, here is the car that I've kind of been showing from time to time in my videos, which is actually every single video that I filmed since I've actually gotten the car into my possession, but I kept the ownership of it very, 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 very vague. And that was none other than the reason of, well, just the fact that I kind of really wanted to enjoy the car, because this car is monumental to me. This car is the method behind the madness of it all, as a matter of fact, and it feels really good to be back in a Corvette. The C706 to me was a massive goal, and being able to finally get this car was just an accomplishment that I genuinely wanted to cherish, rather than kind of just debuting it right away. So some of you might argue that that was somewhat selfish, and I do owe you an apology, because I know a lot of you were very excited about it, but I kind of wanted to just cherish the car for what it was before I introduced it to everybody, because genuinely, this car is a milestone for me. It's not just a vehicle that we jump in and drive. It's something that I get into and I escape. It's kind of hard to explain, but let's talk a little bit about it. So I've had the car now for about 2 months' time. It's a 2016 C706, white exterior, red on the interior, and it is the exact spec that I had always wanted. So it's a really cool story, guys. I had been in the market for that exact spec C706 for probably about 4.5 months' time, dating back to about April of this year. So when I began my hunt, it was actually kind of like right when the coronavirus really started to kind of scale up. And in that, there were actually a lot of effects on the global market of supply and demand, but also specific to the automotive sector of supply and demand, because of all the fear and the unknown and all the other nonsense that came along with it. So trying to find the car to the exact spec that I was looking for was actually considerably challenging, that were in the price range that I was looking for, because I truly wasn't willing to pay way over the actual going rate of these things in the market. And short of the long is, we ended up getting a really great deal on this one, because it was genuinely meant to be. A great friend of mine, also Corvette owner and enthusiast, had actually found this car for me on his way to Georgia. It was in Hickory, North Carolina, for sale on Craigslist by an older individual who was also a massive classic car collector. It wasn't listed anywhere else, and for me, that was almost too good to be true, but it wasn't too good to be true, because it's very true that this is in my possession now, which is an amazing thing. So anyway, I woke up one morning, my buddy had sent me a text of the link on Craigslist, and I said, dude, that's the exact car I'm looking for. How about you check it out for me? So he ended up going out and arranging a meetup with the seller, said that it was everything that it looked to be online, and then, well, the transaction was complete right then and there. Now, the car only had 11,000 miles on it when I got it in my possession, and to date today on the odometer, I think we're like 12,500, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, because nonetheless, I got the car to drive it and truly enjoy it, rather than keep it cooped up inside and just just look at it. So I had mentioned that I was looking for an exact spec. I want to tell you guys a little bit about what I was looking for. So here we have an Arctic white red combination C7Z06. So on the exterior, guys, we got white. Technical name is Arctic White from General Motors. And then on the inside, we have the red leather interior. This car is a 2LZ, which means it's kind of like the mid trim level, but it has some of the top trim level options, which is the OEM arrow that runs around, which is in a carbon flash. So technically all carbon fiber, but it actually looks very shiny versus your traditional carbon fiber, which you can see here is on the roof and the hood. So it also has the carbon package, which is awesome, meaning that the hood is carbon and it has exposed carbon on the hood, and then as well as the roof, exposed carbon all throughout the center with paint matched sides. It's a really nice spec. I'm stoked about it, and the nice thing is that top is super lightweight to lift off. Now, the carbon package also included here on the inside carbon fiber that actually kind of circles around this entire dashboard area, which is really sweet as well, kind of a little added bonus. Now, this car is the 6.2 liter LT4 supercharged GM small block, and this thing freaking rips. In terms of mods, we'll get into those here very shortly, because here on the inside, there is one other thing that I was really looking for. Not only did I want this red on white combination, I also really wanted the competition seats. So this actually bigger, stiffer bolsters on these seats versus what come factory is kind of the standard option in this car. They really give you that awesome race car feel. And they also have these super badass carbon fiber inlays where your 3-point harnesses would go through if you take it to a track day. Now, jumping back on inside of this thing here, oh my God, it feels so good to be back in a Corvette. You guys are seeing this right. We ended up getting an 8-speed auto, which was also part of what I was looking for. A lot of you might be saying, oh dude, you bought a Corvette, but it's an automatic. How could you ever do that? Well, to those true believers, to those that want to save the manuals, believe me, I am totally behind that movement as well. But when it came down to the use cases of what I was going to be using this car for, I really actually wanted the automatic. This car is very much a daily driver for me. I drive it everywhere as many times as I possibly can while still trying to kind of keep it clean. So a manual just really kind of didn't fit the profile. I spent a lot of time on the phone, and having to drive between managing phone calls and everything else in between, it just would have been a little bit too much. Plus, on top of that, from a performance perspective, these 8 speeds are actually very impressive. Now, although they are just your standard converter clutch, our friends, for example, at Race Proven Motorsports have really perfected the tuning that goes into making these transmissions from somewhat mild stock to very wild and very performance oriented, while still having the ability to just throw it in drive and go. Originally, I was very opposed to the idea of getting an 8-speed auto, and I was actually between this car and a GTR, but I really didn't like the unfamiliarities that I had with the GTR platform, and the overall cost of maintenance and ownership is astronomically higher versus that of a C7Z06. These things are very domesticated, they're familiar, and I pretty much know how to do almost anything on one of these things versus the GTR, which kind of gets into a little bit more of a complicated realm. Plus, I really wanted to be able to take the roof off and do some other things the GTR didn't offer, so I was really weighing my pros and cons between what a C7Z06 offers and a GTR, twin turbo, 6-cylinder with a dual clutch transmission or DCT, or your all-American full-bodied 6.2 liter small block supercharged V8 and then an 8-speed converter auto. I felt as if the auto was the weak point in this car, but now that I have a few months of ownership and driving it under my belt, I can confidently say that I am not upset with the direction that I ended up going with this thing. And then what you get with the 2LZ is a little bit of upgraded interior options here. We have this red leather accent piece that runs along the door sill. We've got red stitching. Again, we have the carbon fiber. We've got this red leather that spans and kind of breaks up the dashboard. And we have cooled seats, heated seats, and a few other little gizmos and gadgets, such as like performance driving mode and the PDR recorder, which is pretty cool. Where are we at miles-wise right now? 13,500. So man, I've been driving this thing and I need to change the oil apparently. So that kind of covers the basics of the car, and I am absolutely loving it. It did not come in the form that you see it in today. We did do some minor modifications to it. First things first, we have it lowered down on its factory bolts and leaf springs. Fun fact, if you didn't know, my truck guys out here are gonna find an all new appreciation for Corvettes right now because, well, just like our pickup trucks, Corvettes also have leaf springs. That's right, guys, they're still kind of in the family, if you catch my my drift. Except rather than their leaf springs running parallel to the side of the car, they actually run perpendicular. They go across the front and across the back, which is kind of interesting. I didn't know that until I had my C6 Z06. I found out you can actually lower these things just like we lower our HD trucks by pulling the bolts all the way out. Same concept, except it's on a car that's intended to go very fast and handle really, really good. Kind of sweet, right? So we've got this thing lowered all the way down, and then I slapped on a set of wheels almost immediately. So kind of a fun little fact, I knew that this car was secured, but it took a little bit of time to get it from North Carolina up to Pennsylvania just because of the coronavirus thing. So in the meantime, I had actually ordered some wheels from BC Forged. So these wheels actually arrived before I had the car, which was kind of a funny chain of events. These are 19 by 10, 19 by 12, BC Forged 2-piece wheel. We've got a brushed bronze gloss lip with a matte bronze center and a very, very simple aggressive wheel design with black hardware that marries those two pieces of the wheel together. Now in the rear, this is a 12-inch wide tire, and we are running a Toyo R888R in a size 345/30/19. Then in the front, we've actually got Michelin Pilots on a 19 by 10 wheel. We've got a Michelin Pilot Super Sport in size 295/30R19. So we've got 19s on front and rear, and a different tire up front we have in the back. And the reason for that is I plan on making some big power with this car. I don't think I'm gonna surpass the 1,000 horsepower threshold, but I would like to get it up, well, let's just say as close to that as possible within our means. A stiffer tire in the front and a softer tire in the rear rather than the same tire all around, because those R888Rs are very, very soft, very sticky tires, but the soft tire could actually have a negative impact on handling. So we ended up going with a Pilot Super Sport up front, so we still get that nimbleness and the agility of going into turns and kind of spiritedly driving those. And then when we get into straight line scenarios, we have all the gripping power in the world. And inevitably what that gets us is the best of both worlds in terms of straight line performance and cornering performance. And rather than going the white on black combo, I did decide to change it up with this kind of gloss brushed bronze and matte bronze center, and I'm super happy I did. It turned out looking awesome. BC Forged makes this super freaking nice wheel, and I feel like it complements it really, really nice. I'm super happy with it. Now getting into some other modifications, we had our good friend Rick Jimenez, aka Forged Rick, do a full paint correction and ceramic coat on this thing. If you guys follow him on Instagram, you probably know a little bit about what I'm talking about, because he actually kind of teased this car just right after I got it, right when he was doing a full paint correction on the High Country. We had also gotten it tinted from our boy Brody at Accelerate. He did 5% all around back window and side windows, and it just made this thing look fantastic. And then last but not least, in terms of modifications, yeah, we changed the exhaust. You have to change the exhaust on these things. And it's honestly not even anywhere where it's going to be, which I'll touch on in a minute, but one of my biggest initial pet peeves was how quiet this stock exhaust was. Although it has the ability to open up to performance and close to a touring mode, it still wasn't loud enough. And in my opinion, that's still not loud enough, but at least it gets us a little bit more of that throatiness and that true LT4 sound. Our friends down at Raceproof Motorsports were actually kind enough to lend us a Corsa X pipe that we had installed, and while it kind of temporarily helped out with the lack of exhaust note, it sounds good, but in my opinion, it needs to be louder. All right, guys, I had to bring you inside because it is legitimately what feels like 100 degrees outside. It's saying 90 degrees here, but I don't know, I feel like that thing's kind of lying. And it doesn't account for the humidity index, which is definitely like 400,000%. So we're gonna throw this thing in manual mode, which is basically what I drive it in all the time. So it kind of defeats the purpose of having an automatic, but it's nice to be able to just throw it in drive, have it shift gears, not have to worry about it whatsoever if I'm on the phone or whatever the case might be. It's not like I'm tied up trying to shift gears. Although at times I do miss having a manual, I have absolutely no regrets about going with the 8-speed auto. But for this instance, I have 2 hands free, so we're gonna drive it in manual mode. So guys, you have no idea how good it feels to be back behind the wheel of a Corvette, and especially the next generation of Corvettes. So way, way, way back in the past, I'd say about 2 years ago at this point in time, I had bought a C6 Z06 from one of my neighbors. It was in immaculate condition. It was this beautiful bronze burnt orange. I absolutely love that car. The C6 Z06 will literally always hold such an iconic place in the Corvette hierarchy because of the LS7. There's no arguing a 7-liter small block Chevy. And for a naturally aspirated motor, those things are absolute beasts in combination with the 32 XXX pound chassis that they're married to. Now in the ownership of that C6, we took it down to Race for Motorsports. They did their heads cam package on it, headers, full exhaust, and the muffler mod. They made just over 600 horsepower at the wheels, and for a completely novice driver that I was, on a drag strip, it ran a 10.8, and my driver mod wasn't even a thing that I could put on my resume and lie about. That car was easily capable of mid to low 10s all day, no ifs, ands, or buts, with the right driver. Now shortly after that 10-second run, I actually ended up selling the car and we got the Mini-Max. Man, I'm so happy. But ever since that point in time, I really truly missed having a Corvette, and I basically kind of just let patience play its part, and everything happens for a reason, and knew that one day down the road I inevitably would get into its younger brother, aka the C7. So it feels so good to just be here behind the wheel of this car overlooking this hood. It honestly feels somewhat surreal because a few years back, guys, it felt like this was a very big stretch. And that just reinforces the reason why I didn't immediately make content with this car, is because I genuinely got to drive this thing and kind of just cut out all other elements of my life and truly just enjoy the experience. And I'm sorry, I feel so terrible that I did that, but now we're finally here and I know you guys are stoked. And it pulls super good. I mean, it is completely stock right now, but man, every single time you accelerate one of these things, that exhaust opens up, that supercharger starts to whine, and well, the smile just goes from ear to ear. So the big question you might be asking yourself is, Jack, are you gonna do any more mods to it? And the answer to that, guys, is absolutely. No ifs, ands, or buts. I actually wanted to get this car down sooner to Race for Motorsports, but those guys are so busy right now that we had to schedule all the way out almost 2.5 months into September to get an appointment on their calendar. So this thing is scheduled to get down there for what is basically their stage 4 package, which should put us north of 800 horsepower. And from what I understand is about the max capability of the blower that we have root style up under the hood right now. Oh damn, look at this Cummins. This thing is clean. Ooh, I like it a lot. Now while we're out, we actually have to make one quick pit stop. We're here at Kinsey's Outdoors. I may or may not have just bought a new bow for bow season. But first, dudes, let's admire this thing. Holy crap, is this thing clean. Sport Laramie front end, paint match mirrors. I can't help but notice how clean the undercarriage is. Got ourselves a nice quad cab, Whirly custom fab traction bars in what looks to be Illusion Cherry, which happens to be the same color that I have on 8-Ball. Got a nice polished stack on the back, which is actually far from stock. Ironically, I had that exact same stack on 8-Ball before I decided to take it off for obvious reasons, but this guy seems to be pretty smart because he wrapped his roof black because it was inevitably turn black anyway. My man, if you follow me, dude, you did a really good job on that truck, and I'm super happy I got to check it out. We ended up going for a slight upgrade for the 2020 season. We're retiring and switching brands from Hoyt to Matthews this year. We've got ourselves a 31.5 VXR and OD green. We got ourselves a new stabilizer, but we actually recycled my drop away, my wrist strap, and my Trophy Ridge 3-pin from the Hoyt. So the Hoyt is actually going to be available. It's a 30-inch carbon spider. If you guys are interested, you can go ahead and shoot me a message on Instagram. We can compare these, but we got to make a really important pit stop. Auto close gate. I like that a lot. And by the way, guys, we are recording frequently on this new GoPro Hero 8, and I freaking love the audio quality on this thing, and it's fantastic compared to the old GoPros. All right. I know I need to change my oil. I get it. Ooh, that reflection now. It actually downpoured while we were inside Kinsey's, but now it's like freaking gorgeous out again. Thank goodness, because the R888Rs, although they're doable in the rain, believe me, I know from experience, it's not necessarily a scenario that I like to find myself in often. That feels good. This man knows right here. You know, it does sound really good for what it is, because that exhaust and that exhaust are almost direct exit, whereas these exhausts are muffled, so the valves are open right now with that X pipe, but it needs to be louder, and it needs a cam, and it needs more power, baby. More power, baby. Guys, welcome back to the shop. I just want to let you guys know that Dream Diesel giveaway number 12 2019 limited might be yours. But guys, mind you, this giveaway is literally almost over. So if you want to get entered for a chance to win it, exploreenthusiast.com, because one of those entries might just put your name on the title of that truck.